Okay. Hold on a second while I navigate through all this nonsense. Uh, Good evening. Yeah, good evening. Um, it's gonna be a fire little one. This gonna be a nice little one. I'm gonna go not to MSN. I'm gonna close these two tabs right here. Yeah, and it's about to be a nice little chocolate session. So I told you guys when we first started this, the whole point of the weekly updates is not just to give you news that's happening around the world or in your backyard or in my backyard, but the actual purpose of it is because there's a group of people who run around the United States, and for better or for worse, they say that they're descendant of a certain group of people, and they claim that 400 years ago, sometime this, in a 400-year period, that our people were taken uh, from their whatever land they were living in, and they were brought here. And the belief is that based based on what's written and what's called the Bible, and based on what they believe in their minds, they believe that this is the 400th year of the tribulation of the tribal of the trial of the children of Abraham, his seed, his descendants. Now, where I really don't have an issue with that, 400-year prophecy, I have an issue with people being able to pick a year that they find suitable for them, and then that's it. It's just that year. It's just whatever they tell us. So, um, yeah, I'm kind of over people telling me whatever. I'm kind of over people saying whatever and thinking that we just have to accept that. That's bull. Um, the price of freedom, you see, and it has a lot to do with all this. What I'm getting at, but just let me build the picture here. Is that we are dealing with a group of individuals who, within ourselves, are radical, dealing with groups of people outside of ourselves that are radical. That's the most honest and fair way to say it. When you're dealing with that, the the group that has the most leverage, you see, is the one that normally makes the rules. So because the people that did bring your people here on boats already had guns, means that they already have an advantage when it comes to warfare. So in order for you to even equalize that, you have to have a gun or you have to outnumber them so greatly that their guns mean nothing. You see what I'm saying? So on that level alone, leverage is what we're going to call it. We're not going to call it supremacy or anything else. And the group with leverage, who has the most leverage right now, is not us. So with that said, the price of this freedom of the land that they established, the land that they stole, the price of their freedom comes at a very high price. See, no one really understands that the English people sent the worst of the English to America. They sent murderers, thieves, crooks, scoundrels, swindlers, con artists, whores, prostitutes, and they're different, madams, pimps, mistresses, everything. They sent all of those people over. They sent the worst of the worst here. They didn't send the uh, the aristocrat type. They didn't come until there were like small established colonies that didn't just die off and pretty much resort to cannibalism. Now, the reason why I say the price of freedom is so high is because people are they live in a bubble, so to speak. You know, believe it or not, today the United States, whether they're going to ever admit it or not, drop bombs somewhere in a country they got no business dropping bombs in. Can you dig that? Today, believe it or not, some black ops team, so-called counterterrorism or whatever, right? First strike, tip of the spear type dudes, went and snatched up some man or some woman or children from their homes, okay, as pawns and as what you call a bargaining chip, leverage once again, and because they already have things that these countries don't have, the ability to retaliate is minimal. You see what I mean? But that doesn't mean that because they can do that to them, it doesn't mean that the Americans are able to overrun them. I'll give you a case in point. The best one is Afghanistan. You see, the price of freedom is so high that people will overlook how long they've actually been in Afghanistan. They're still there. We've been there since the year 2000. Do you understand that? We've been there for 19 years. Probably been there longer than that unofficially. When they first found those lithium ores, or the Chinese, or they, I don't know how it all happened, but the Chinese probably had loose lips, or somebody had loose lips, and the price of freedom, like I said, goes up once people understand what it is that you're working with. But they've never been able to overtake the Afghanis, have they? So even though they have more leverage than the Afghanis, they have the ability to drop bombs whenever they like to. They could do all types of things, but the Afghani people, they haven't overtaken them. Just like they haven't overtaken black people. Black people just because they have the gun to our head doesn't mean we won't say pull the trigger. You understand? Because we're that type of people. Where we'd rather you kill us, kill me before you make me sell out. The real ones of us, the best ones of us, would rather die. Believe that. And as painful as death may be, and as finite as it is, that is much better than the alternative. You see, because we're in the alternative where people are being desensitized to mass acts of violence. I mean, they happen every day. Um, some nut job lost his mind in Jersey, kills one man, shoots another three police officers. They take him down. I'm highly suspect of all these types of situations. Um, Police officers aren't really that well trained. This is why they get overwhelmed all the time. I mean, in on the unofficial records, on those shootouts where they won't even say that took place because they're just totally embarrassed of what has happened and taken place. If it's something that they can clean up and blame it on people who are out in the streets, like gang members and stuff like that, that's what they'll do. But the legitimate tag you could put on freedom, the price of it is not just resource. It's not just loyalty. It's blood. You know what I'm saying? It is plasma. The actual price of it. And in this country, it's starting to become a daily thing where they're exercising that tax. They used to exercise it freely on black people anyway, in a time and a place called the Jim Crow era. But because black people never had any even kind of partial justice back then, the kind of eighth or scintilla of a justice they call themselves rendering to us now, black people settle for, but not realizing that their ancestors would have never settled for that. Could you imagine if Emmett Till was killed in a time like this? What would happen? Could you imagine if Emmett Till's uncles were like fully armed people with the ability to retaliate with some leverage? Thank you very much. See, the problem is that because the price of freedom is so high in this land, the people who don't have the ability to leverage it in their way, right? Freedom is always going to be an illusion. It's always going to be a trap. Um, I don't have very much, so I can speak to this honestly. I can say it, and it won't be like I'm a guy who's like making like six figures a year, seven figures a year. You know what I mean? I'm a five-figure type guy, so uh, and that's just what it is. For right now, and I accept that. I'm not trying to move on past that. Uh, the price of my freedom has fluctuated. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's price is different. Everybody's circumstance is different. But once again, that's the ability of the leverage is that there's jobs for me to go get. There's jobs for me to go look for. If I lived in a place where there were no jobs and I was going through the same thing I'm going through now, and I had the same level of responsibilities, financially, I would be hurting. You see, but if I lived in another place where, let's say, the cost of living wasn't so high, then maybe I wouldn't be hurting. Maybe it would be a similar struggle, but who knows? I live in a place where, uh, granted, everything I have going on, I'm still able to make do. But the point is this: is that the price that we have to pay as people to live in a land like this is so high that if you're not willing to shed blood, your blood may be shed because you're not willing to pay that price. You see what I'm saying? Right. And I'm not saying for you to offer somebody up or nothing like that. It's here's what happens. Just like just like today, right? They say in Texas somebody killed two people on the freeway they believe is drug related. But let's just assume it's not. Let's assume it's road rage, right? And one guy got out blasting back at the dude, which is why the dude got in the car and drove off. See, this is how really. See, once again, I want y'all to understand. This one guy didn't overwhelm this shooter with the rifle. He just put shots down range just to try to get the guy to get up out of there. However, I'm not going to get into all that. The point being this: let's say it's not about drugs. Let's say it's just about a road rage incident, right? Okay. That means that person, those two people who were in that vehicle, if they did something to provoke that person in that vehicle to anger so much so that violence that was lethal was pursued, I want you to understand this. They didn't go out there willing to pay the price with violence because you have to deal in it. That's the only way. You see what I'm saying? Like you can't live in an environment where violence can happen to you and then be expected to not be willing to use that same force to protect yourself. It's unfeasible. That's unfeasible. Okay. Now the reason why this is more important than probably any other update I've ever done is because we're at a crucial junction where the wall's being built. They're building the wall. That's not a joke. You understand? Do you know when I told you guys like they moved thousands of people up out of here? They were deporting folks that they who they sent all over the country just to get them up out of here. Right. They didn't lie about it. They just it's just a matter of how you look at it. Now they're not processing every single one of those cases. Only certain places in the country are going to see an influx of these so-called immigrants. And even man, I'm trying to tell y'all, man, like it's going down. You don't think that's putting a sour taste in the mouth of people south of the border? You don't think every single country, every single government is rallying their people behind every single time the country called America played them sour and did them south? Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. They're dredging up all those things for the people to feed on. You don't think the elders are telling us right now to the young children, or to the youngsters, or to the young adults who have all that fire in them? They're giving that to them right now. Believe that. Believe that. As far down south as it goes in South America, I can't think of the country that's farthest down, but as far as down as it goes to the tip, all the way up to beyond Canada, they're going to converge on this place. It has to happen. I'm sorry, I'm not like wishing it to happen, but it's like that's what's gonna happen. You know, it won't matter. These videos, I mean, like all the stuff that this stuff is housed on, all the so-called cloud, all that shit will be destroyed. When that day happens, they're prepared for that. They're prepared for that. They're prepared for what they know is going to come. You know, which is why the rhetoric has changed. The price of freedom is so steep that the Chinese, the Russians, and the Iranians are all training together because they're starting to see like if we allow the Americans to bulldog China the way that it's going, the Americans will flip the world back on its head 40 years. Russia's China's like, we can't have that. Can't have that. Cannot have that. And if they can't have it that way, they'd rather have an all out Duke 'em out war. So that way can't nobody ever say that they were ever better than America. You need to understand that. That's the mentality of the people that you're living under. Those who have all the leverage. It's crazy because even when you think about how these folks pursue all of their goals, you can see that this is what they wanted. All right, they wanted everything to be to where people would be at the boiling point and to be at the breaking point at all times. This is why people who have these good jobs are pretty much dying from stress every day. You see what I'm saying? Because even though they get paid what people perceive as a lot of money, the things that they're asked to do may go against their beliefs, may go against all their ethics, all those things. And because once again, like I said, the price is blood, but you pay and all the other things as well. But that's the real price to freedom. You know what I'm saying? Is that like if you had to look at the tag and you had the total of all these things, you're like, man, you pretty much asking me to sacrifice, myself. Like because you take a chance every time you leave your home. See, this is why I said every job is dangerous, and I said almost 7 or 8 months ago when the first little Walmart shootings, when the first spate of shootings happened, I said they're gonna have a bunch of shit happening at Walmart because they don't have fucking armed security. I said it. The price of freedom is that high. If Walmart didn't want that to happen, they would fire two of their greeters in the store or just fire two people in the store altogether and hire somebody there for $30 an hour to be armed security at all of their stores. It's that simple. It's literally that simple. But they're not going to do that. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't want people to feel as if Walmart's turned into that type of location. But it is. It has, and it always will be. See, when the Walmart out here in Lakewood, Washington first opened, this is back in like 2008, it got robbed like that same year that it opened. Security guard dude doing like the little Brinks truck shit, he gets killed. Crazy ass stuff. Anyway, back then they should have understood. Hey, look, man, we just opened this. We just opened this store in a relatively easygoing state where the crime rate in a lot of these places isn't. It's not bewildering. It's not crazy. So it's like, why? Why is that happening? You see what I'm saying? Why did that happen? And it happened because people feel like there's an opportunity. If I just go up in here super duper muscling up on everything and I just go hard, then that's what's going to happen. And can I say like they're wrong or they're right about it? Not truly, but there's a lot of things that I can be like, well, it's not it's not for me to say. You know what I mean? Um, because it's their business. It's not my business. I don't. I'm not saying I don't care when people get killed, but it's like I'm so desensitized to it. It's like, how am I supposed to feel unless it's somebody that I truly, really do love and care about? You know, this shit happens so often, and they allow it to happen so often. And then for things that do spark that should make people look funny, people turn a fucking blind eye to it. And that's how I know that the price of freedom is blood, because their 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 worst efforts, okay, are trying to see you with nothing. But their best efforts are seeing you dead. And this is how people end up all the time. You know? Now, are these things meant for I think black people to fold and give up first? Yeah, I do believe that. But they created an environment where their own children are now the mass victims to things that they thought that black people were going to be victims to. You understand? So what I'm trying to get at is that their time is coming, like literally, like the day when they wake up and say, "Holy shit, we really don't have anything, and what we believe is our history is nothing." That day is coming. Like I couldn't put a timetable on it. I'm obviously not the Most High, but if I had to guess, if 2019 isn't year 400, the most obvious, I'm thinking, I'm just gonna go 2027. I'll argue a handful of years like that is the latest. We'll see everything went normal like this, and then it's gonna totally turn on its head. 1597 was the year I was taught for a long time that slavery started when I was a little boy. For a long time, I was taught that. I'm not going to abandon that because they want to say 1620 now. Um, and I added 30 years to it because the Israelites were in Egypt for 30 years. So imagine if these wizards, warlocks, sorcerers, enchanters, and the like found a way to finagle an extra 30 years out of our bondage. It wouldn't surprise me. Um, would I be surprised if the Most High God took us in a time outside of the new corn? Kind of, sort of, but not really. Because the Messiah said, pretty much people with little babies, be careful because you don't want the tribulation to come in the winter. Understood. However, that means that even he doesn't know when it's going to take place and it's going to happen. That's just me throwing it out there. That's just me putting that out there, putting it forward. That even the guy, Jesus guy, didn't know when that was going to take place. Thank you very much. However, um, I think it's also keen to say that the price is so high for what they call freedom that you must be willing to do whatever it takes to see tomorrow through to the next moment. Every moment is precious. It really is because you could be anywhere and one of these people could decide to lose what's left of their so-called mind and decide to take out all their worldly frustrations on you because you're around. Might it be because you're black? Sure. Let's say that. They still have all the leverage. You were brought here on a boat, butt naked. They had guns and food and all that. Right. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing your boy? Please be hearing me. Because that's what I'm trying to say right now is that it's more than you think it is. It's more than paying your rent. It's more than paying your bills. It's more than paying taxes. Um, Illegal immigrants do that. Suffice it to say, people who aren't supposed to be in the country do it every day. Pay bills, rent, taxes, blah, blah, blah. Maybe not in that order, but they're paying for it. So when it's all said and done, the accumulation of the ultimate price is blood. And some of these groups may not be willing to pay in that blood. They may be once again be ceding back to old history as to how the white man actually came into power. And maybe without their final touch of fuckery, right? That the white man wouldn't be where he's at. And that'll have a person stewing and brewing. Oh yeah. Stewing and brewing. I constantly go over and constantly say to you, if you believe the Chinese are over what the British and the Americans have their dirty asshole hands all in, did to them over 150 years ago, if you think that they're over that shit, eh, get out. Please get out. Get out of that hole. Don't play yourself. Don't even play yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like they're out for blood too. They're out for blood too. You know what I'm saying? All these little countries that you big or small, but when I say little, I just to me it's like whatever. Their grudge is nothing. But their grudge is enough to make that price of freedom go all the way to the ceiling. You know what I mean? It doesn't get any higher than this. You can't ask for any more than this. You know, and this is where it's come to, where the price of you being able to pay your rent, pay your bills, is possibly the price of blood. Possibly you having to defend yourself to that level and that degree, where in which you're able to go home and continue. Right. To know that I may have to do this again and engage in these activities again to go home. If one does not toughen up, if one does not tell themselves that these are some of the strenuous things that I may have to undergo, then they may be overwhelmed in the time and in the moment. And in the moment, they may fail to act. And it may be their blood that is paid for the price. That's right. I want that to be none of my people. That's why it's so important for you to understand what the price of this freedom is. That's why I've been telling everybody, man, I've been saying to you, if you don't have to do nothing, don't really go nowhere. Go buy the stuff, work out at home, do all the stuff at home. Do everything, do as much as you can do at home. There's no need for you to go out here commingling with people who, for the life of them, can say whatever they like to say. And people can say, all men like all women and all women like all men. And to a degree, that's true, but to a larger degree, that's not true. Okay? It's really not true. The fear of assimilation has finally sprung up on white people. You wanna know why? Because for the very first time, they're seeing a a shift in the mindset of what is okay with the people. So the price that they're willing to pay is the highest price they'll pay with their lives. They would rather you once again. I'd rather do what they're asking you to do, which is stay out the way and let them take out their kinsman trash, because that's really what they're trying to do. You see, it, before a white dude ever wants to put his hands on a black person, I'm gonna tell you who a white dude really wants to get his motherfucking paws on. The nigga lover. Oh, when I say there's one thing that they hate more than a black person, it's a nigga lover, man or woman. That's what they really want. They want them first. You see what I'm saying? And I'm like, just black people, just get out the way. And we want all the other groups before we even try to fuck with y'all, because we already know how it's going. But black people want to be in this game where they want to act as if you don't want to call out the wrongdoing of your own people, but yet you want them to see the evils that are done to you. You have to admonish your people, and you have to say, I'm not. Nobody made me. You know what I'm saying? I pay my own bills. No, this is why it's so important to not ask the crowd for money. That's why it's so important for that. For you to not want people to support you, but for you to support your own endeavors, no matter how difficult it is. Because guess what? That's gonna pay dividends. That's gonna be the difference every time. And people don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear it because it always fucks them up. hmm And I get sad for them too because it's almost as if everything is fruitless and there's no win. And I understand that, but at the same time, there is a win because when you stand back and you watch the trash take out the trash, you don't get your hands dirty. This is what the Messiah meant by let the dead bury the dead. You feel me? They're going to get rid of each other. Don't even worry about it. You feel me? They're going to do one another in. Don't worry about it. But people are steadfast, worried about shit that they can't control. And that's what makes it so weak. That's what makes it so like, man, I don't know what more to say, to my people, other than if you don't understand that the price that they want us to pay is higher than the price of, no mansion is worth your life. You know what I mean? No car, no nothing like that. No, none of that shit is worth your life. So it's like I just can't imagine what a person would think is more than the price of them having to lay it all on the line. And that's the ultimate price of having to give up the one thing that you cherish the most. Maybe there's other people's lives that you cherish more than yours, but an individual item that you actually don't possess but you know is yours, is your life. That's the thing you cherish the most. There's no way you cherish something else more than that. I don't believe that. However, I'm at my wits end. You know, uh, I am. I'm at my wits end. I've said this so many times where it's like, and not just the same thing, but just the point that I'm trying to make, that people have to really let go of what they think is so important. You know, you can stay invested as much as you think that this stuff is going to be around, but when it's not going to be around anymore, if you're still totally invested, when it's going down, you're going to be one of the people who get washed away with it because you're not going to be willing to get off that boat. See what I'm saying? And this is why I always tell people, to not be too invested in any of that stuff, because at the end of the day, ultimately, your survival is more important than all of that. And it's like I believe I stress that more than almost anyone else. You know, I I say stay alive. That's I that could be my little freaking thing on my channel somewhere. But for real, that's the truth. Stay alive. I believe that more than anything. I believe if you are able to maintain your health, then the ability to overcome a situation and the circumstance is most definitely feasible. But it's not feasible if you're no longer in existence. And if you're not in existence because you didn't believe that the price that you may have to pay, right, is the price of blood. It doesn't matter if it's not your blood, right on, because you were forced to participate in the dealing of that happening. This is why this is why it's so precious. This is why life is so precious. This is why you shouldn't go out there and seek to hurt people. You understand? Because they can't come back from that. That's it. That's it. It's done. You see what I'm saying? And we live in a world where especially in this country where they fantasize and glorify violence so much that the things that we should talk about pertaining to violence, like how to prevent it, from how to prevent people who feel as if they don't have a voice, or as if whatever's not going their way, um, to change. I mean, like, for example, I didn't know that one of these shooters said something about people who are incels, who are in in involuntary celibate or something like. I don't know what the hell that is. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who is celibate not on their own choosing. Um, and I'm like, I mean, I've never had that issue, so I don't really know what that's like. But like, I don't, but I don't whore myself out. So let's not even get it fucked up. You know what I mean? But I can't relate, so I can't understand their mentality. All I can say is that, like, if getting turned down, so many times made these guys want to go out and kill people, then it's like, you know, uh, they need to go and look for these type of people, red flag them. You know what I mean? Make sure that they can't get weapons, I guess, because the price of freedom is going to get real steep when people like that are feeling like they can't they can't put their seed out there, because certain people won't have a child if they don't feel like they have the financial resources to raise a baby. Other people don't care so much because they just want to have a baby. So that's just the difference in the mentalities of human beings. you know Whereas somebody's like, one person is like, I'll make do, and I'll cook more, I'll do this more, I'll do this more, and I'll do this less, and I'll do this less, as opposed to the other person who feels like they have to have complete leverage in order to even want to be in that position. And understand that leverage word is powerful. This is why I brought it up, because you can't use a term like white supremacy or something like that, or dominant society, in that aspect, and then it makes sense. But if I say leverage in that moment, it totally makes sense. You see, and leverage is the financial leverage to give yourself the emotional leverage, mental leverage. For some people, the money gives them spiritual leverage because they feel like they're nothing without it. Other people don't need it. Once again, it's just because the lack of leverage is not there. You see what I'm saying? The presence of leverage is not available. It's totally absent. So they need, or they won't pursue something that they know that they need to do. You see what I mean? And this is going to cause a lot of these guys to strike out. A lot of these dudes who are 35 and under, no children. You know, there was a situation where a young dude just killed his girlfriend because she was about to leave him. and I think she was a nanny, and I think she was about to get with the dude she was a nanny with, nanny for, and dude killed the girl that he was with, the young lady that he was with, and he killed the dude. Now I know he probably put two and two together, something funny going on, and I'm not going out like that. Now this guy's not an incel, right on, but he's the exact type of person that I'm talking about, where he didn't feel like he had the leverage to have children right now because what kind of man would let his wife be a nanny to somebody else's children if he has his own children that she can stay home and take care of, and he can he can I would rather struggle a little bit and know that you're doing the right thing or think you're doing the right thing than I have a job, you have a job, and then all of a sudden, you don't want to be with me anymore. It's not working anymore. You follow what I'm saying? Like, because then it builds a level of suspicion, and then you can assume what was probably going on between the young lady and the man. And it's like, as fucked up as it is that he killed them, she's just as wrong for putting herself in that position. You see what I'm saying? But that's the price that people have to be willing to pay. If people are not willing to pay that price when they go and make decisions as basic as they think they are that affect another human being, I told you already, the price of blood is steep. And there's a lot of motherfuckers out there who don't think that they're going to have to pay with the blood. They're going to find out the hard way. There's people who every day they get up, they're positive they're making it to tomorrow, and then they get killed in the day. They die in the day. You know what I'm saying? They don't finish the day out. Is what I'm pretty much getting at. So the price of your freedom, the price of freedom, is the blood. It's literal survival. That's what it costs to be free. Is you have to be alive. You have to survive every time. You have to go something and oh until you're something and one. Right. You only die once. You ain't got to. All that getting resuscitated and he came back. Listen, he died officially on the paper, and listen. When you die for real and out of here and it's done, finite, no coming back, because you only do that one time. You're not coming back from a actual dead stage. I'm just not hearing it. You know what I mean? Unless it's some kind of wicked sorcery. So this is the one shot that you get at it, and that's the price that every day to be free it costs you living. You have to be alive for that. I don't think I can. I can't overstate it enough. I can't say it enough that if you're not alive, freedom costs nothing. Right? You're dead. You see what I'm saying? So that's the price of your actual freedom. Is your life. Can you dig that? And if you can't dig it, oh well. But the point being is that that's the point. You can't live in this world, all right, and expect to be free ever and not be alive. That's the price of your freedom. That's why I say it costs blood. If you don't think that it costs blood, then ask the people who were so-called the founding fathers what it cost to establish this nation. Ask your ancestors who were beat on their backs with all sorts of wicked contraptions and devices, who were treated lesser than in every single aspect that you can think of. So much so that a person that people call a founding father named Thomas Jefferson was the key construct to what is known as the Connecticut Compromise, where it states that a black man is 3/5 of a human, and all this is done for the sole purpose, right, of legislating, delegating people who will be able to come and legislate and speak for people and represent them at the state level. However, because people believe that these people didn't get their hands dirty, or I don't know what they think the price is. The price is steep. In order to maintain a blood factory, you have to keep shedding blood. Why do you think they love the grimy 90s, as I like to call it? And as people call the cocaine 80s. But the grimy 90s, they loved it because it gave them the ability to lock black people up wholesale and get what the country needed to keep a grip, an iron grip over everything. And that is the constant presence of danger. You know what I'm saying? People have become so docilated because They believe that nothing can happen to you when for a long time in this country, I mean, for a long time, it was known that America was an extreme. It's still really dangerous, but like people knew that this place was extremely dangerous. So it's like you enter at your own risk. You know, there are a plethora of foreign nationals, diplomats, dignitaries. You know what I'm saying? People with diplomatic immunity, even though they would be a diplomat, to come over here to America and never be seen or heard from again, ever. You know, these are in different times, but this should happen. And that's the price that people had to pay, have to be willing to pay. Nobody's willing to pay that price. So they can't really understand, you know, why I'm talking like this. I know you guys are probably, you have to be willing, you're alive. It's a by default mechanism. If you're not willing to pay the price, those are the people who are normally not alive at the end of the day when it comes to these violent ordeals. These are the people who were like, no, 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 nobody needs a gun. Nobody needs to do that. But how do you think they got this country? They didn't just ask the Aboriginal natives to say, hey, look, bro, you think I can just move my whole nation of people over here and you guys just kind of move off to the side? You know, is that all right? That's not what took place. So if people think that the maintenance of order is going to be kept in any other fashion, any other such fashion, they're lying to themselves. Once again, that's a facade and an illusion that I cannot allow for my people to be under, and I cannot not speak on it. That would be a fallacy on my persons. On my other channel, I uploaded a little video, and I'm going to speak to it right now. You see, the price of freedom is so high that a young man, little boy, okay, they had to describe that he was unarmed in the article because the area that he's in is so rough that a 12-year-old boy might have a gun because he's in the south side of Chicago. Now what's sad about it is that the little boy was already established to not be a threat to these SWAT officers. They shoot the little boy in the leg, right? One of these officers shoot him in his leg. This boy will never be the same again. Mentally, spiritually, none of that. He'll never be the same. When he sees police officers, he'll never be the same. He but that's the price. Because the white man is willing to turn a young boy like that into their enemy, right? To be able 6 or 7 years from now, 5 years from now, justifiably homicide him, right? Right? A justified shooting of the young man because maybe he can't cope with the situation. Now, mind you, he's got two other brothers. He has a mother, but that doesn't mean that anybody's going to be able to get through to the young man. You follow what I'm talking about? And that's the price that they're going to have to be willing to pay. Right? Nobody wants to hear that, but I'm the only one to talk about it. So they don't have to want to hear it because I spoke on it. And nobody else going to speak about it because it's not a hot topic for them. It's not popular for them. I speak on things that matter. One of the worst things I've ever seen happen to a person, and this will be one of the things that really illustrate what this is about. Young man was in Pioneer Square. This is 4 years ago. No, 5 years ago. And I'm 23, man, at the time. So, you know, I'm younger than I am now, you know, a real young buck. And guy, little dude, he's probably like 19, 20. He's out asking people for money and stuff like that. And I've told this story a couple times. But he asked me for something. He asked me for some money. I said, nah, bro, I don't got nothing. And then I seen him and I didn't want to hurt him. You understand? So I went into my pocket and I gave him a couple bucks. I said, here, man. I said, be good, bro. Don't get in no trouble, man. He walked off. I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes later, something like that. Not even a whole 20 minutes later. Couldn't have been that long. I see this dude come back from the bottom of his chin to the damn all the way to his knees almost. This boy was covered in blood, y'all. It's one of the craziest sights I've ever seen in my whole life. As far as just man, and I said to myself, I said, yeah, he's going to prison for life. He's done. He's done. He's done. But that man that was out there that he was dealing with, or woman, whoever he was dealing with, they, they weren't willing to pay the price by dealing the violence that is necessary to be dealt in order to walk away from that sort of situation. It takes that, my people. It takes that. We're 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 not in a situation where we can dictate or choose uh, if we're going to protect ourselves or not. I don't know if the person we stabbed was white, black, yellow, pink, green, magenta. It doesn't really matter. I know that the person we stabbed didn't make it. All the blood I seen on him, I said, "Oh yeah, this dude's carrying half the blood in their body on his damn." Oh my god, it was. When I say he was drenched in blood, this shit was crazy, y'all. I was like, "How the fuck did he get all this blood on him?" Anyway, blood just dripping off of his clothes, man. It's crazy. Anyway, that price, that price is steep. That is a steep ass price to pay to not be willing to either capitulate or to be willing to say, you know what, I don't want to hurt this person, so let me go ahead and do something for them. And by capitulate, I mean go ahead and do violence. Go ahead and say, you know what, I have to give in to this situation. I have to harm them. Or you do what I do, and you say, you know what, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to harm this dude, man. So let me go ahead and do the best thing for him, which is hopefully give him just a couple bucks. And I thought he was gonna go buy himself a little beer on the street and sit down and I know this dude is in prison right now, so man, wasting his life. He's done. He's done forever. That dude's done. That dude's doing 30 or 40, 50 years. He's out of here. Believe that. And that's just one of those situations. Um, like I said, I've been around people when they die. You know, I've been around all types of violent situations. So I truly do understand the need, and my point I'm gonna pretty much end out of just talking about how I never fired I want y'all to understand this. Never fired a shot out of the pistol that I was bringing to Pioneer Square. Never, not once. Never had to. Well, I could have, but I just never had to. I was never put in a position where it's like it's do or die. And because I didn't, I want you to understand this. People seen the willingness, the readiness, and the apparent know-how to address the situation. And these guys are like, he's a hero. That's what people call me. I think that's funny. In either situation, one where guy gets shot, he's shot in his arm. I tell this dude to get behind the car with me and stuff like that. He's got it's a whole bunch of madness going on. I'm looking at the area. I see the guy who shot the dude. I found out a week later. I seen him in the parking lot. I thought I was gonna have to steam his ass up, because he was walking through looking crazy at first, but he understood that I was watching him. So you know what I'm saying? I'm watching all the stuff that's going on. But anyway, yeah, he didn't want to get steamed up. Anyway, y'all gotta understand. Hero that night to the people. The night when the young dude got laid out, and I really wish I could have done something for me. I mean, like to this day, wish I could have done something. Wish my gun wasn't in my backpack and it had just been on my persons. And you see, that's the thing is like I understood that the price of my freedom, the price of everything that I have is my life, and I have to protect that with all that I have. If you're not willing to make someone else pretty much pay the ultimate price for what it is that you know is rightfully yours, which is your ability to live in peace, as much peace and tranquility as one can acquire in their circumstance and situation. That is yours, and no one should be allowed to encroach upon that in any way, shape, or form. See, this is probably, honestly, outside of a couple. I mean, this might be my best weekly update ever, honestly, because it's been an honest press forward of what I need you guys to understand. It's not just, oh, what's going on in China or what happened in another little country. I don't even care about that stuff. I don't even care about it. It doesn't even matter to me. I look at it. I wonder in my head how many people actually are even paying attention to any of these things other than me, and then I move on because I realize it's a fruitless effort for me to continue to believe that what I'm doing is going to be what makes people think different. All I can do is hope to reach out to the ones and twos, and those ones and twos are always special people. You know, always they're always people who are skilled individuals. You know, I always say that there's nobody on this earth who's really not good or gifted at something that if they did what they were best at, they would be a help and not a hurt to the situation. But because most people want to do what they want to do, I do what I want to do, but I also do what I must and do what I have to do as well. Because I understand that in certain positions I'm meant to be because that's where I'm most effective. A teacher is a servant, whether you knew that or not, you know, on any level. Right. If they give you a certain service, then they are a servant, no matter what. So it's only right that if a person gives you a service, that you are appreciative of the service. This is why it's so hard for certain folks to understand the exact order of how things actually do work. It's not a chance, or it's not a chance of happenstance that people get to where they're at in their lives. Very rarely are there just the perfect storm, so to speak, of conditions that will take place that allow you to get somewhere. Like the guy who threw that 96-mile fastball and now he's signing a deal. Um, he's 23. He's a young dude. You know what I'm saying? But he's not super duper young, but he's young. And good for him. But that doesn't happen to people very often. You see what I'm saying? So you have to stay rooted in what's real. And what's real is that in the last few years, the MLB has lost quite a few of their players, man, to some questionable deaths and mysterious, and others just kind of tragic and really sad. And the price is paid. Because if you don't think that you have to take care of yourself and you can go and just be out on a boat and that boat turn over and topside and shit, and as good of a swimmer as you think you are, you are nothing. You are no match for that current. That current that pulls you down and under, and that's it. It's murder she wrote. That's why I'm always like, man, y'all don't do anything you don't have to do. That's why I'm always saying that. Don't do anything you don't have to do. You should enjoy yourself and have a good time, but if unless you believe what you're about to do is worth losing your life over, engage in that activity, then you shouldn't do it. You know, um, there are things that obviously we can control the setting, or at least feel like we're controlling the setting. Like I'm doing a live stream at home, so but I could be on the road. I could be walking around doing this. But then in that moment, I would have to be careful, and I would have to. You see what I'm saying? I would have to know all the things that I'm saying to you right now would apply ever more because I would have to be that much more willing to shed blood, that much more willing to do whatever it takes to come home. Because if you're not, then there's a chance that someone might be formidable to you, and you might not make it back. That's not how I'm trying to end my story. It's not how I'm trying to end my story. Not at all. Um, I'm getting ready to be up out of here. Got another few minutes. I told myself I'd give this 60 minutes. I got some really, really, really good stuff in the works. Um, I'm going to attack genetics all the way again. I'm over people not listening. It doesn't really matter. You know, I had got to a little point where I was about to go over the little hump, and then I just total total regression. But the regression has actually been a positive thing because I could have possibly been in a situation where certain information and certain videos would have gotten flagged, uh, and that it wouldn't have been good. You know, you don't need that. You need as much good stuff to happen for you as possible. So, just saying that, I just want you guys to know that I have this masterpiece about Gentiles coming out. You know, that's gonna take me a little while. And it's gonna take me a while. Y'all know how I move. You know, I'm like a tortoise with nothing to lose. You know, but a good tortoise. But I can't help it. You know, it's just I've come to realize that what takes me a lot longer, what I used to do, sometimes people didn't appreciate it, and I've come to realize that okay, maybe everyone doesn't appreciate it, but there are people who still do desire that same information. Um, I'll do my. I'm going to start to do the actual like 3 parts each spiritual gumbos just to cover the ground of the spiritual gumbos quickly of everything that was deleted. Um, just to show people like what I was talking about and what I've said and contended isn't much different at all than what I'm saying right now. I've just tweaked things here and there where I might have been under the belief of what another person told me based on what the world has readily available, and then read something myself and perceived things differently and said, okay, you know what, that's not true to me anymore. This is different to me. This is what it means to me now. And I've been able to do this with the scripture where I want to do this piece about the Gentiles, and I when I do it, I just want everyone to see how this is a group that's considered. The term race is only put in the Bible because of the Gentiles. I'm going to explain why race is so important. I'm going to explain why the group who is on top in a certain fashion obviously is no longer. You can't be a racist if you're on top, if you have all the leverage. See what I'm saying? Especially if you played the game that everybody else had to play, and you're not withholding their ability to forward progress or advance. It's just that you have a station that can't be betrayed or taken from you. And with that said, there's a lot of people who just can't understand those types of concepts. And I'm not shunning them, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but it's just that's not a strong suit for them, and that's not where they feel most comfortable, and that's fine. But for myself as an individual, I feel totally comfortable with these ideas of black Gentiles and white ones and all these other colored Gentiles who came up top, and they had different ways of thinking and being, and pretty much set in a turn of events that to this day we are seeing play out. The ultimate drive for so-called supremacy. That's right. See, this is why the Israelite people were so special because they had already established their home and their land. Had they just served the Most High God and done so with the glad heart and with with a merry spirit, then there wouldn't be there wouldn't be the situation that we're in now. You understand? What we're going through right now is totally contingent to what these Gentile things did. But I want to get off of that subject, and I'm going to end this this 2019 weekly update on this note. Today's date is August 9, 2019. The year ends on December 31st, 11:59. No, 12 o'clock, 59 seconds. That's the last moment that the chariots can come in and start whisking people up out of here. Otherwise than that, this ain't the year. And as crazy and tumultuous as everything has been, and as out of control as things have been, there are certain events that have not taken place yet that are spoken on in the prophecies of the prophets. That until they happen, I don't see us getting out of here. So when they do take place, if I'm still alive, then yeah, and maybe if I can even broadcast during those times just to point it out, like yo, I think that this prophecy coming to fruition. You know, the walls of Babylon have to be built. Those walls down there in the south are exactly those. Those walls and those gates are exactly those. The walls and the gates of Babylon. I thought it was cyber walls, but I think it's everything. I I don't think I know they're gonna have to crash the system. They're gonna have to cyber attack it and then bum rush it from the south. People dropping in people from planes during the time of your what's it called of your blackout or whatever, right? Whenever they hack your system, paratrooping paratroopers come in. By the time they get everything semi whatever, they would have fierce fighting on either coast. The fighting would be so fierce that you know that people would be drawn from like it'd be life or death situations for the most part. Um, it'd be crazy. Not to mention earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, and all that stuff taking place all at the same time. Maybe not exactly all at once in one area, but most definitely happening all across. So, and you can blame these people who have played with the weather for the last 100 years as to why the weather is going to be able to so easily be manipulated and changed in times where it's not supposed to be like that. There we go. I think I got most of it off my chest. What else do I have? Yeah. The price. Hello, sister. We're funny. The price, though, like I was saying, that it costs everybody is so steep, you know, that you have to be alive to actually even pay the price. And then the person dies, then they pay the ultimate price normally for someone else. You know, it would be gravely unfortunate that a person died in vain. You know what I'm talking about? Um, it wouldn't be sad. It's but normally, when somebody passes in this world, especially by violent means, it's normally for the profit of someone else. Even no matter how small that is, no matter how small the profit is, it's normally for the profit of another person when somebody leaves through violent means. So we have to, as people. I'm talking about I'm talking about the price of of freedom. You know what I'm saying? The actual cost of it, like what it costs, like what people have to pay. You know what I'm saying? You know, and why it's so important that people understand that whenever they leave their home and they go and do something, that unless they're willing to deal in the highest forms of violence, then they've already set themselves up to be a victim. You see, I'll I'll point it out like this. This is a funny one. The guy who shot at the guy on the freeway today in Texas, right? I spoke on this earlier. Uh, this guy hops out. Okay, so one crazy dude hops out with the AR-15 type rifle, right? Boom.
blast these two guys. This guy has this gun, thinks that the dude with the rifle is going to shoot at him. So he sends some lead down range to the guy with the rifle. The guy with the rifle gets up out of there, hops in the car that he's in, the car drives off. Now, I can relate to that, only no shots fired, once again. And I told you about the sister, the guy who looked at me like a deer in the headlights when the freaking dude was pistol whipping him across his head. And once I realized that this guy has a gun out, I get my gun out. And I'm sure if I don't arm myself, that this guy feels brazen enough to shoot in the direction where this guy is at. But because he sees that I have a gun, his whole mindset has changed because now I have leverage. Right. He realizes, oh, he has leverage too. And I was speaking on leverage earlier because, people like to talk about white supremacy. And I don't believe in that. I believe that they have leverage. It's hard to imagine that a group of people who came here butt naked in chains on a boat are ever going to get leverage over people who already had guns. You follow what I'm saying? So they can call it white supremacy, but if you just called it leverage, that would be a lot easier. Then it would explain more situations than not. Because situations where that term white supremacy or dominant society is not applicable, the term leverage probably is, and we all know what leverage is. It gives you the upper hand, you know. Um, you know what leverage is, sister. Your business in a certain way deals in leverage. Something that other people don't, and that's that's your leverage. Pay me. So it's the same concept in my mind. Um, I could be wrong, you know, um, but then again, it's just back to saying that people, when they leave their homes, they have to be willing to deal in the most ultimate form of violence in order to come home because there's no way that a person can tell me, and I'm just giving you a quick rundown, the founding fathers who so-called discovered this country, right? They founded it through violence. So it's only going to be maintained through violence. So that means that the price of freedom is probably going to be blood. You follow what I mean? Because that's what it costs in order to give the perception of freedom. And that's what people have to really accept and rally behind in a sense and say, okay, maybe I don't want to carry a firearm, but maybe they should. So they're gonna have to balance out their moral ethics and then their self-preservation. And if they're comfortable with losing their life, if they say, you know what, if God takes me, he takes me, if that's how they live their life, I have nothing against that person. I just don't personally feel that someone like that has a strong desire to live. So, um, because anybody who has a strong desire to live, God can do whatever he likes to me. But it doesn't mean that while somebody's trying to do whatever to me, doesn't mean that I'm not going to fight tooth and nail until that happens. The Most High can do whatever he likes. That's on him. That's his prerogative. You can't change any of that. But what you can do here on this earth, right? All the decisions that you can make, that is your prerogative. That is your paradigm. And there's a lot of people who sometimes, sister, I don't think will appreciate that they have that kind of power, you know. And I don't think that they realize that every single one of us is a bargaining chip for freedom, you know. The people that were killed in California, the people that were killed in El Paso, the people that were killed in Dayton, all the people that have been getting killed lately all over the place, right? Is all these people are bargaining chips for freedom. Right now, America is allowing all this gun violence to go off, so that way foreign nations understand the sort of folks they're going to be dealing with if they were to ever try to invade. Oh, it's not just the armed forces you have to worry about. It's these crazy loony bins, okay, who have 100-round drums who don't give a damn what they shoot at. But those crazy loony bins aren't going and shooting at trained individuals, so it doesn't send a message that they want to send. But they are trying to send the message that we have people who are willing to fight tooth and nail, right on, to enforce what they believe is the natural order of everything, which is them on top and everyone else on bottom. Leverage. So, and that's been my thing, sister. That's what I've been talking about the most. Is whether or not, or not whether or not, but why people should take their 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 safety a little more serious, and their and how to look at their life, and not just that, but the prophecies, as to how we're looking at this year. People are looking at this year to get up out of here, but I'm like, if this ain't the year, it's years down the line. It's almost a decade from now before we get up out of here if this isn't the year. And our people, once again, how many people are going to be discouraged from carrying on if nothing happens in the year 2019? It's going to break a lot of people's spirits. This is why the price of freedom is so high, because who's to say how they're going to respond to that? They're political black activists now, but maybe they just become just as low down and skullduggerous as the white people that they were loathing moments before. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm more concerned with, and I can actually say I'm worried about, because it doesn't look good. We're in August. It's the 9th day. It does not look good, sister. 4 months from now, it'll be December, and then 22 days from then, and 4 hours and like 45 minutes or something like that, it would have to everything would have to change. You follow what I'm saying? Like, everything right now would have, everything we would have to be experiencing what we know to be the end of everything that we know it as, and the beginning of something new to come afterwards. And nobody sees or feels that. I'm not saying I don't see or feel it. I'm just saying that there's not an overwhelming sense that danger is on the horizon, but there is this sensation that something big is coming. People can feel it. Do I think that something could happen tomorrow? Of course I do. I know it could happen tomorrow, but I also know that because there's so many entities and forces who are working so hard to keep this from happening, the vain thing that they may be imagining, um, because they're attempting to lock it all in place, right? To keep us on bottom forever, the lifeblood of everything. You're the reason why businesses fail and succeed. You, black man and black woman. Your single-handed efforts literally make and break people. Yeah, something's coming, sister. People can feel it. People know that. But that's the thing, though, is like, do we give into that? You know what I'm saying? Do you give in to knowing that something's coming, and then do you change up your ways, or do you stick to your guns? Are people going to say, you know what? Okay, 2019 wasn't the year that the Most High God came back and saved His people. If it doesn't happen this year, and say, all right, well, we're waiting until then, or do they just say, you know what? This whole Bible is bullshit. Damn it all. There's no way of really telling. You can't. You literally can't know. Right. So because we can't know, because we can't tell, you see how dangerous that is? You see the position that they're putting us in? But they don't care, though. Because for them, it's all the same. It's all the same for all these other people. See, for a person who knows that they don't have much to look forward to, because there's a lot of people who talk like, when I die, I'm probably going to hell. And they be really serious. And you know what? That sucks. But let me go ahead and say this. Those are the same people who are trying not hard at all. They're trying. I mean, they're doing their best to do as least as possible. And they're not on the chopping block. And these are the people who are willing to go and sell out and try to make something out of what should be left to die or left alone. And these are the people that we have to contend with. These are our counterparts. These are the brothers and sisters that we have to go to war with, so to speak. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. A lot of people don't want to hear like that's what it is. Yes, that's what it is. It's not. You don't have a choice in that. You don't get to choose and make it different. You understand? Neither do I. All I get to do is accept what it is that may possibly take place, what it is that may possibly happen. Um, I've done my best to be patient and wait people out. I've done my best to to try to show people the different ways of thinking about things and seeing things. You know, I mean, there's no way really. It's kind of depressing, you know. Um, really, really. I mean, because you think about that. I mean, that's gonna break people in half. You know, that's gonna break some people all the way in half. You know, and they can be sad about it. They can feel whatever they want to feel about a sister. I guarantee you, 100%, you're gonna see more black people who make more fatal decisions. You know, they get them caught up than almost ever before. If this isn't the year, um, black people have to get over themselves and start to realize that, like, this school thing is about to become a real issue. You know, we haven't. It's been a while since we heard about the college scandals. But the last thing I heard about college admissions was that they're gonna pretty much make it to where parents can't can't claim that you can't claim that you're an independent pretty much anymore, right? So it's gonna make it to where the cost of tuition is gonna go up for certain people. So let's say that black people were doing this notoriously, and I know that they weren't. That means that the cost of tuition is going to go up for them drastically. But there are a lot of black people who had to do things like this where they're like, look, I can't afford to you know what I'm saying, we won't be afford to put you through school because the price will go up. You won't be seen as a person coming from a low income household, even though I make this much money, but this I have to pay this and this all by myself, and they don't take into account that that I'm caring for a sick individual. There's so many different little things that these people can do to screw you over, and pretty much, you know, I just don't know how people are going to take it. This school thing is going to hit them hard. Like I really do see these guys trying to pull a everybody who got a loan or a grant at this time under this guy's, or like they have to justify it, and it's going to be crazy because there's going to be a lot of people who get snatched up. You know, um, I read to y'all already that like they made it to where the Department of Treasury, or I mean, excuse me, is no longer in charge of the loan, but the DOE is like, okay, we've taken all that exclusively back, even though they had given the Department of Treasury exclusive um, access over like all their cases like that where people had delinquent loans or whatever. Now it's like they can lease. Listen, they can lease that debt out to any agency and group that they see fit. And as long as they follow these flimsy ass guidelines, they can come get you. So there's going to be a lot of people who uh, are getting snatched up by like your everyday regular bounty hunters. Right? It hasn't happened yet. Don't worry. Just like I told people, they're building the wall. Like if this shit lasts as long as it could, it's going there. Black people are going to get snatched up for delinquent school. Once again, next October, next year, they're going to be able to make it to where you have to have a passport to travel. What? To get on a plane anywhere in the U.S., you're going to need a passport? Dog, are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? It's crazy, y'all. It's about to go all the way down. So imagine a person who has delinquent student loans. Well, now that you can't really just get on a plane and just go somewhere, you have to drive. It sequesters people into doing so many different things. So it's going to increase the traffic, which is going to increase the stops in traffic, which is going to increase the people who are in prison for whatever reason. Some of those people are going to be people who have delinquent loans, who are going to be extradited to wherever it is the jurisdiction is for the loan, and that's how this stuff is going to be processed. They need a way to keep your black ass in first, so they need most of the wall built. By this time next year, most of the wall will be built. Believe that by this time next year, most of the wall will be built, and there will be no escape. So you won't be able to just leave this bitch. You can't get on the plane and just roll out. You understand? And who has access at the ports to just be able to get on a boat going to somewhere? Right. You see how? Do you see how that works? You see how dangerous that is? This is why black people have to understand, like, it's about to go the fuck down. It's about to go all the way down. I just want black people to understand, like, I'm not saying I told you first, but extra, read all about it, or just hear all about it in this case, because I'm trying to lay it on thick. I've been laying it on thick for so many years that people just ignore me because a lot of the things I say don't happen until like a year later, and I'm like, I already said that. I'm not even surprised that it happened. People don't remember that I brought it up or said it, so it's like, I guess they win that battle in that sense that people's memories are flimsy. Um, you're the little crazy ass white boy who went and shot that sister in Kentucky and that older brother, and then there was the young brother who shot it out with him in the parking lot. You know that punk ass white boy was found competent. Oh, they're gonna stick him. We can take this today and travel this boy. Look. It's only gonna get way worse, sis. The passport thing to me is madness, but it's happening. You know that. What happens when I don't know? Certain states restrict people from another state from coming into it. Like if I live in Washington, I can't travel to the East Coast anymore, or some stupid bullshit like that. You know, uh, and I mean, I'm not saying that people would ever be so weak as to let the government do that, but if there was ever a reason to keep people apart or to make it to where that would look like a legitimate ploy, they do it. They do it. That would give them more control. It would give them more leverage. That L word is powerful. Powerful. Powerful L word. They need leverage. It's what they need. It's what they want. It's what they desire. See, it's the P word to them, power. You see? But it's not really power to everyone else. It's just basic leverage. If you don't overrate and overdo what it is that they have, then they're going to admit that what it is that they're working it, where they're going to admit that what they're working with is just that, whatever it is that you can see at the base level. They're not going to lie, especially if you're like, look, bro, I can see what this is. I know what this is. Only the stupid ones lie. But the ones who kind of have a little sense know better. They know that it's no good to lie. Not now. It's pointless. But but I don't know if black people even want to care what's about to happen to them. You know, I don't know. I mean, I've got a battle that I'm fighting myself that I know is only going to get more difficult as things rage on. It's difficult right now a little bit. It's just been, I've been going through the little thing. Had a bunch of job interviews this week. Got to go to another one tomorrow and another one on Monday and see what shakes down for a player. But it's just been the same struggle. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, I understand when I go to work at any place, I understand that working at that place, somebody might have worked there before who hates everyone, who wants to kill all those people, whatever. Somebody might find that this place is the best place to come rob. It looks like it's an easy, you know, it's a little easy joint to come get. Whatever. Easy move, as they would say in the street. Um, I don't know. But if I don't go into every situation, once I get ready to walk out of the threshold of my home and say to myself, Demetrius, you may have to do bodily harm to another person in order to come back home today. If I don't tell myself that once I leave the home, then I'm almost practically doomed because a situation may take place where I should know to de-escalate the situation and not be confrontational. Not just because of it's the adult and mature thing to do, but because I may have other things on the line that require me to be there. And it's like if I jeopardize my my responsibility right on for a moment of it. I mean, being indignant is okay, but even when you're righteously angry, you still have to know that there's nothing you can do about it sometimes. You have to just accept it, you know. And and that's where it's been for me is just knowing how to toe the line and not bring myself too much strife and too much grief and doing that will be like one of those things that I really need to do, at all times. Um, it's difficult, it's difficult. Uh, they want you to be a pro black or whatever the freak that's supposed to be, and all these other things. But when you actually do what it is that they ask you to do, then they all want to wash their hands of you because you don't say what it is that they want you to say, and you're not doing what they want you to do. You know, so therefore you're undesirable for them to be around or to listen to or any of that because you don't give them what it is that they're looking for. You know, I'm gonna end it off here in a couple minutes. I really, I've stressed it pretty good. Like I said before you even got here, sister, I really felt like this is like the best weekly update I've ever done because it's just a real honest. People feel whatever. People have their own minds. They can think whatever, but just so honest. You know, I want y'all to be careful. They are shooting and killing people for no freaking reason. Um, Black people obviously are always a target. Will never not be a target. Um, but that doesn't mean that you can't stand on your own 2 feet. You know. Oh, Sister Bowser, it's always an honor to have you come and grace me with your presence. My lowly, lowly self, but I do my best. I do my best. Um, have a blessed night. If you're still in Texas, be safe out there. Obviously, handle your business. You already know to do that, but it's just please, please be safe. Uh, really can't be cautious enough right now. People are just crazy right now. They really are. But any other person who's just been here chilling, I salute you. I salute all my people. Well, tell your family I say hello, sister. Pray that everyone is well. I'm gonna do something now. Get at you guys' business because everybody's busy, and I want everybody to enjoy themselves as much as they can.
because we once again we as a people have a steep price to pay, but everyone can pay that ultimate price, but they want us to pay it the most. They want us to pay it first, and I want us to survive and live to be able to see what the Most High God has planned for His people, and that is that I desire that more than anything. And with that said, sister, I appreciate you. I'm ending it.